In today's episode, boss fires best employee because of my compliance. Most greasy sandwich possible? Okay. Driver wants me to cancel the ride I requested and I did, after he arrived at the pickup location to see I'm already gone. So let's get started. Boss fires best employee because of my compliance. Hospitality isn't known for its amazing personalities, but no one could take the cake of a boss and his wife that I worked for about a decade ago. They took over a beautiful pub/restaurant in a mountain range that the locals loved to visit. It would have taken almost no effort at all to have a very successful business as there was no real competition, and the area was very affluent. On weekends there was always a queue of customers. Unfortunately for all the staff and the locals mentioned, the owners were on a massive ego trip, having moved from the city to set up this restaurant as a way to settle down, which they clearly were not capable of in the slightest. The wife boss will now be known as Karen. They were so highly strung that the hairs would stand up on the back of your neck when they came into the building. I learned to expect that every word that came out of their mouths to be either barking orders or criticizing even the most petty of details. I kid you not, Karen yelled at me once because I hadn't turned all the coffee cups handles so that they were pointing in the same direction. I started working there part-time and managed to put up with their antics much better than the countless other part-timers that came and went. For one, I was content to just do whatever they told me, as deep down I knew it would come back to bite them in the end. Being their longest staff member, after just 4 months, I kid you not, I got the best pick of shifts. Also, by being one of the only fully trained members of staff, I never really worked directly with them, as I would cover the shifts on their days off. Every day they seemed to be getting more and more stressed and micromanaging, to the point they decided to just install cameras everywhere so they could sit at home and monitor the staff. I would get calls multiple times an hour telling me things like, one of the tables needed to be cleared, the customers had barely left. Or that I was standing and talking to a local too long and should be sweeping or something. Unfortunately, this kind of corporate McDonald's-style ethos didn't really work when the majority of your customers were regulars who wanted a coffee, a meal and a 10-minute chat with a friendly face. One thing they were really hung up on was the till. Such was their paranoia about the till that only the bosses, myself and one other girl, Jessica, could operate it no matter what or how busy we were, which of course led to multiple situations of inconvenience. Also, we had to count out the till several times a day and deposit the money in the safe even if we had only made $20. After a particularly busy day, I was closing and had received new instructions just that day from Karen that from now on we would keep all big denominations, $50 or more QI roll, hidden under the main compartment of the till. From the moment she said it, I knew it was another nitpicky rule that she'd forget about straight away, so of course what else should I do but follow orders? The next morning when I finally checked my phone around 10 a.m. I saw that I had 10 missed calls from work, and also worryingly from Jessica, the other staff member, who I got on with really well. I called Jessica first to hear her tell me that Karen had come in and counted the till, and when she couldn't find $50 accused Jessica of stealing it and fired her on the spot. No, I'm not joking. Jessica had called me from the car park to say goodbye, and while I immediately knew what happened and told her about it, as well as saying sorry to her, we were both glad she didn't have to work in that nightmare place anymore. I was angry that the owners had treated Jessica like that. I knew they were crazy, but to fire someone accusing them of stealing was a new low. However, I did get great satisfaction from calling them and putting on my best facade of nonplussed. The conversation went like this. Karen, I just had to fire Jessica as she was caught stealing. The till is missing $50. I still couldn't believe that they didn't ask me first, as I was the last one to actually count the money the night before. Why did they even think it was Jessica and not me? They were completely nuts. Me, in my best malicious compliance voice, oh that's weird, I definitely counted it correctly and put all the money just as you told me, with the $50 notes in the bottom compartment as you explained just yesterday. I'm not going to lie, the following pause brought me great glee, as I could practically hear the buzzing in Karen's head as she opened the till and found the missing $50 note right where it should be. Having just fired the second longest staff member they had, me still being the first, meant they had to work all of Jessica's shifts before we could hire and train another, saying goodbye to all their time off for weeks. Also, I made sure to tell our regular customers, who took the time to get to know the staff by name, what had happened when they asked where lovely Jessica had gone. Many stopped coming in unless it was my shift, having seen the real personalities of the bosses, and they tipped the staff more too. I stayed there for a short while longer, and was happy to hear that Jessica had found a job in a much nicer cafe soon after leaving. I left after I had saved up money to go traveling and found out that the restaurant closed just a few weeks later. I don't think they even lasted a year total. Whatever they did next, I do hope it didn't involve employing anyone else, as they definitely do not have the personalities to manage staff. Most greasy sandwich possible? Okay. Bit of a twist on the normal MC, but still satisfying in the end. Years and years ago, back when I ran a McDonald's, south of Edmonton, middle of nowhere, I had a couple of guys come in late one evening while I was preparing to close. Not quite closing time, but getting there. They come in and ask what is the greasiest sandwich on the menu. I reply and let them know it's a close tie between the Big Mac and double quarter pounder. They pause for a second and ask if I can make a double Big Mac, but use those large quarter pounder patties to make it even greasier. I told them I could, but there would be a substantial upcharge for all that extra meat. They agree and go ahead with it. I'm thinking this is strange, but okay. If anyone has worked at McDonald's or most fast food, you know we usually have pre-cooked beef waiting for customers we likely cooked just a few minutes prior. I was always a stickler for less more often, usually took pride in how little food waste I threw out. This night though, I had enough patties to make their burgers, but since they had been in the tray for a few minutes already, so the grease had fallen into the tray, the patties were that greasy, not compared to right off the grill. What do? Cook them 8 fresh, barely drain the meat of the grease, and put them on the burgers. Burgers were so large, 4 patties on each burger, couldn't even try to close the boxes, so they got them on a tray. The bottom of the tray had small pools of grease around the burgers because as the meat sat on the bun/toppings it all soaked downwards. They took the burgers and ate them. Here I am thinking that I would receive a complaint afterwards for how soaked they were. Nope. After they were finished, they came up to me and actually thanked me, saying no one had actually made them that burger before exactly how I had done it, despite them wanting it down that way. Was shocked and slightly amused as they left. Driver wants me to cancel the ride I requested, and I did, after he arrived at the pickup location to see I'm already gone. This is probably the prettiest thing I've done, at least that I can remember. My friends and I came out of a KTV at like 2:30 in the morning, and it was time for us to go home. I order an Uber, or Didi as it's called in Shanghai, and we get picked up for a ride surprisingly quick for that time of night. The driver is about 10 minutes away, but that's fine. However, I'm watching the dot on the screen and noticing that the car hasn't moved at all. After 20 minutes of waiting, I finally message the driver what's up. He asks me to cancel the ride cause he doesn't want to make the trip. It's close to his ending time, and if I cancel the trip, he still gets paid. Drivers also aren't really allowed to cancel trips anyway without good reason. I refuse. I tell him that he's the one who accepted the ride, he needs to pick us up and complete it. We go back and forth on this for a good 10 minutes, and I adamantly tell him I'm not canceling. Meanwhile, my friend has been trying to order another Didi, and there's no one in our vicinity to pick us up. The wait time for getting picked up is like 20+ minutes, but we knew it could easily be longer. It's after 3 o'clock, and we've now been waiting 30 minutes for this dude to pick us up. My friend hasn't gotten another ride either, and there's literally no cabs in sight, and hasn't been for the whole time we've been outside waiting. Finally, at about 3:15, miracle of miracles, a cab comes by and picks us up, and we head to our destination. Meanwhile, I'm watching the Didi driver, who I still have on the hook, and I finally see him start to drive towards us on the map, after 45 minutes of just sitting there and arguing with me about canceling my ride. We make it to our own destination about 15 minutes later, just as he is pulling up to our original pickup location. It's only when I get the notification that he has arrived to pick me up that I comply with his request and cancel the ride. I send him a message that we found alternative transportation, and thanks anyway. He still got paid, since I was the one who cancelled, but hopefully he learned to think twice about accepting rides he doesn't want to drive. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.